Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Shravani, Assistant Professor of English, Department of English in St. Francis College for Women, Hyderabad. We will be speaking on comparative literature, that's the paper, Drama of India, and the course is representing margins. The particular module that we are looking into is Mahesh Dattani's Tara. Now, in this module, we would be starting with who Mahesh Dattani is, of course, and also to look at Mahesh Dattani's career, something of his life, and also what are the major themes in his plays, what does he really like talking about. After that, we will be concentrating on the plot of the play Tara, and then on we will be discussing the different characters and the major themes of the play. Now, Mahesh Dattani, as he is rather famous as one of the Indian playwrights who are writing in English, was born in 1958 in Bangalore. Now, he was educated in Baldwin's Boys High School and St. Joseph's College, Bangalore, and post-graduation he worked as a content writer in some advertisement offices. But around 1986, his first play, Where There Is a Will, surfaced, and that brought him international acclaim. He then went on writing plays like Dance Like a Man, Bravely Fought the Queen, Tara, On a Muggy Night in Mumbai, then 7 Steps Around the Fire, Final Solutions, and so on. Mahesh Dattani, it's very interesting to note, was first interested in writing after reading Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. That's what made him interested in writing. And later, a Gujarati playwright, Madhur Rai's play made him interested in playwriting. Alec Padamsee recognized his talent and convinced him to seek a career on stage as a playwright. Now, he has been writing since 1986 continuously, and he has also been writing as a BBC playwright. He is also one of the 21 BBC playwrights who BBC invited to write plays to commemorate Chaucer's 600th anniversary in the year 2000. Now, his play Dance Like a Man was adapted into a film in 2003, and he wrote and directed Morning Raga in 2004, which was a very critically applauded film starring Shabana Azmi. And a less known and less popular film, Mango Souffle, was directed by him in 2002. Now, let's look at what are the major themes that Mahesh Dattani explores in his plays. The first major theme, which of course comes out very often from his plays, is gender discrimination. Dattani considers reality as gendered. He considers society always discriminating against women particularly, but not just women. Like in Bravely Fought the Queen, the family always deprives its women folk. The women always stay at home. The recurrent image of a bonsai kind of represents the stunted presence of the women in that play. Besides that, the mother-in-law's character, Ba, it's also hinted how she lives and relives her past, where she was time and again abused by her now deceased husband. The other plays which looked into gender discrimination is of course Tara, where this girl child, one of the conjoined twin, is deprived so that her brother could have a full and complete existence. Other than that, in Dance Like a Man, very interestingly, Mahesh Dattani looks at masculinity, and he also says that it's not only women who are constricted by the societal norms about gender, but it's also men who are constricted by our expectations towards masculinity. Jairaj, the male protagonist of the play, is stopped by his father from pursuing a dance career because his father considered dancing effeminate. The second major theme which comes up in Mahesh Dattani's plays is of course sexual marginalization. Mahesh Dattani is one of those first playwrights who openly write about sexually marginalized entities. Like in 7 Steps Around the Fire, Mahesh Dattani talks about this beautiful eunuch, Kamla, who falls in love with and marries the son of a wealthy political personality called Subbu, and this leads to her horrific murder later. Mahesh Dattani also shows how society and most of the members of the society refers to this eunuch community as the non-living it. They do not call them as she, unlike Uma Rao, who is this one of the characters in the play. The other famous play which talks openly about homosexuality is On a Muggy Night in Mumbai, where Mahesh Dattani talks about our expectations and our ridicule and disgust towards people who are homosexual, and how we expect them to be trivial, to be silly, to be effeminate, and to be ridiculous. They are funny to us. The third major theme which Dattani explores in his play is familial discord. Very interestingly, Dattani's idea of home, family, do not really carry the usual comfortable, warm connotation that we associate with these words. To him, the plays are always in some sort of dysfunctional family. For example, in Tara, the adults of the family, particularly the mother and the maternal grandfather, chooses Tara's brother to have the 2 legs out of the 3 that the conjoined twins shared. Secondly, in Dance Like a Man, the patriarch of the family manipulates his daughter-in-law Ratna's ambition to be a famous classical dancer to thwart his son's ambition in the similar career, because he considered dance, as we already discussed, as effeminate. In Bravely for the Queen, as we already discussed, the mother-in-law is time and again abused by her now deceased husband, and as a result she lavishes all her love and interest to her younger son Nitin, who then hoodwinks his wife and keeps her into darkness about his closet homosexuality. The older son Jiten also becomes as abusive as his father, and as a result of his domestic abuse, his daughter Daksha is born differently abled. The fourth major theme which surfaces from Dattani's plays is communalism. Now, Dattani in Final Solutions, which is one of his plays, talks about not exactly what happens in a communal violence or a communal tension, but he talks about the fear which is almost inculcated in us whenever we talk about communalism, different religious communities, and well, of course, the communal episodes of communal violence. In Final Solutions, in post-independence communal riots, two members of different religious communities fall in love with each other, Smita and Baban, and their love and hate are juxtaposed in such a way that it complicates the uniformity of mindless violence that we associate always with post-partition India. Now let's have a look at Tara. Tara talks about the life of a conjoined twins, a pair of conjoined twins, Tara and Chandan. Now in this play, Dattani talks about how these two siblings, these conjoined twins, they were born together, joined, spiritually entwined, but they are separated forcefully, and how they also drift away from each other after realizing that earlier in their past, the adults of their family chose Chandan to have the two legs of the three that they shared, and Tara to be deprived unethically and also unmedically, because it would have, the extra leg would have actually medically suited Tara better, because the blood circulation in that particular limb was happening from Tara's body and not Chandan, and incidentally both of them lose the leg. Now let's look at the different characters of the play before we get into the plot of the play. Now the characters like Chandan is important to notice, because Chandan is the narrator of the play more than the protagonist. It is the story is entirely told from the perspective of Chandan, and it's Chandan's flashbacks that we see on stage. Chandan is guilty over all the deprivations that Tara had to undergo on his behalf, and he wants to commemorate Tara by writing a play called Twinkle Tara, now just to atone his sense of guilt. Now the character of Tara is considered to be the protagonist, and Tara is this vivacious, extremely intelligent, witty girl who cannot conform to the societal norms about female. She is not what we understand as the archetypical Indian woman, meek and mild, submissive, silent. She enjoys her mother's spoiling, but she also feels betrayed when she realizes her mother's culpability in all in the sordid episode that happened in their childhood. The third member is Patel, Tara and Chandan's father, who is a little distance from the life of Tara and Chandan. She, unlike his wife Bharati, he actually is more interested in Chandan's career and is only briefly indulgent, very casually indulgent about Tara. But he's the one who finally discloses the sordid history about the surgery. Bharati, the twins' mother, is aware that she was culpable about Tara's deprivation, so she is all for Tara. She is obsessively devoted to Tara, and she wants Tara to depend on her in case if the sordid episode comes out, she can control Tara's reactions. She's also trying to establish her moral superiority over Patel so that she can justify her own action. She tries to atone her guilt by trying to donate her kidney to Tara when she needs a transplantation. But because she can't handle this emotional upheaval, she becomes emotionally unstable and has to later be institutionalized. In the later half of the play, we realize that she passed away after the death of Tara. The other two characters are somewhat crucial to the play, but not exactly the central characters. Rupa, the 15-year-old neighbor of Tara and Chandan, is actually bribed by Bharati to be there, and particularly Tara's friend. She hates Tara because she considers Tara to be a freak. She is mean, she's crude, she's shallow, and she later, when she, when she's thwarted by Tara and threatened into silence, after the episode where she leads Chandan on and later stops him and cries molestation, she swears revenge against the twins, particularly against Tara, and conspires with her two cronies, Prema and Nalini, to scar Tara emotionally by publicly calling her a freak. The final character of the play is Dr. Thakur, who is the doctor who surgically separated the twins all those years ago. Throughout the play, we see him sitting in another level, which we will talk about the stage management and the settings later. He talks about the surgery as if he's in an interview. He considers the conjoined condition of Tara and Chandan as a defect and speaks very clinically and dispassionately about the surgery. We also later find out how he had conspired with Bharati and her father to unethically deprive Tara from that extra leg and to give it to Chandan in lieu of 3 acres of prime land property for his new hospital. Now, it's very important that we understand that Dattani's idea of a stage is multi-layered. In the first, in the ground and in the biggest stage portion, it is the Patel residence, where the flashback and most of the actions happening, and together with adjoining it is an L-shaped alleyway which is highlighted by cross lighting. In another level, which is somewhat less dominant than this level, than the previous level, is Chandan's suburban bedsitter in London. It is kind of sparse. It only has a narrow cot in one corner, and in another corner, in a more dominant place, is a writing table with a strategically placed typewriter and a very clearly exhibited sheaf of paper. This is where Chandan sits and tries to write the play on Tara. It was in the third and the highest level, it is Dr. Thakur who is sitting in a very nonchalant, godlike, detached way throughout the play in a chair, and he talks at regular intervals. Now, let's look at the plot of Tara. Now, Tara was initially staged in 1990, and when it was first staged, it was called Twinkle Tara. Then in 1991, when Alec Padamsee adapts it for stage, he renames it Tara. Now, the plot of Tara, as we were all talking about, starts with Chandan in his bedsitter in suburban London, where he is seen feverishly typing a play called Twinkle Tara, and he explains how he is atoning Tara's death and deprivation by commemorating her in his 2-act play. In his flashback, we see where Tara and Chandan are young and they are talking about how they were conjoined in birth and separated by fate, which they shouldn't have. Now, Bharati comes in and we can see for certain how she is more partial towards Tara. When Rupa comes in to visit Tara, and actually she has an ulterior motive that she wants to report on Tara to Prema and Nalini because she considers Tara to be a freak because she is an amputee. Rupa is bribed by Bharati to be Tara's friend, which she kind of accepts. Tara and Chandan talk about their medical experience and they talk about how life has been for them so far. There is, in the next scene, there is again a place where Dr. Thakur is seen as if he is in an interview with Chandan, and Dr. Thakur describes the conjoined condition of Tara and Chandan as a defect, and he goes on about the medical particulars and jargons about the surgery. After that, Tara is shown, Tara and Chandan, they are shown to be bickering and talking about each other, and Rupa gets into the discussion. Later in this play, I will be short about this plot because later in this play there comes a moment where Patel finds Chandan's preoccupation with household stuffs effeminate and he is very angry about it, and Patel offers to take Chandan to his office, but Chandan refuses because unless Tara joins them there. In this tiff between Bharati and Patel, as Bharati tries to defend Tara and Chandan, Patel warns her not to be so obsessively close to Tara, and in this tiff the truth almost comes out, but Bharati kind of stops before it actually does. Tara becomes so agitated to in this tiff between her parents, Tara almost gets a seizure, and Bharati cannot help, so Patel resuscitates the almost comatose Tara by giving her sugar. We realize that Bharati is scared of something and we don't know what it is, but we understand that she is afraid of something in the past. Now, in the second act, we see Chandan rifling through all the paper cuts and scrapbooks about Dr. Thakur and to find the truth about what happened all those years ago. And we see that Tara comes back from her kidney transplant and she finds out that Bharati has been institutionalized. Tara is bewildered because she thinks that Patel deliberately is keeping her away from her mother. When Tara confronts Patel about it and tries to escape the house to visit her mother, Patel explains the truth about her, how Bharati's father was a very rich and influential MLA, and Bharati and her father together conspired with Dr. Thakur all those years ago to allow Chandan be complete in Tara's expense. Tara is bewildered, Tara is betrayed, and she resolves to spend her life taking care of underprivileged children and their medical concerns. Towards the end of the play, Chandan again has an encounter with Dr. Thakur, of course in the metaphysical plane, and he resolves to remove Dr. Thakur, almost exorcise Dr. Thakur from his psyche with all its greediness and sordid history, and to accept the fact that a grievous discrimination was done against Tara, and by accepting the fact that even after the death of Tara, they are still psychically connected. As Chandan speaks and remembers Tara and decides to commemorate her in this play, Tara's image comes up and they embrace each other as the way they were born in the prenatal, in a prenatal embrace. Now let's have a look at what are the major themes that Dattani talks about in Tara, this particular play. Now we have already discussed what are the major themes of Dattani in his entire oeuvre, but let's look about those themes which comes particularly from this play, which we have not already discussed. The first thing, of course, which we have already discussed, but particularly from this play, is the gender demarcation, this discrimination that is shown towards the female. Tara loses her potential life because her mother wanted to have a complete male offspring. Not only that, Tara's relationship with Chandan is conditioned by the society to a certain extent. Now, Chandan and Tara's relationship is always described as inseparable, but they realize how they have drifted apart after realizing the truth about their surgery. And also, Chandan is always in a way haunted by the grievous, the heinous discrimination that was done against Tara. Now, Tara is all that could have been but could not happen because the society wanted it to be different. Now, let's look at the other major concern that comes out from this play, that is, well, the mother-daughter relationship. Now, Tara and Bharati's relationship is very convoluted because it is unlike any what we call usual mother-daughter relationship. Bharati is obsessed about displaying her affection for Tara. Bharati, later we realize, is actually trying to cover up her sense of guilt in her culpability towards everything that has been done against Tara. So this mother-daughter relationship, this woman destroying the life of another woman, somebody who is her own flesh and blood, it's almost regulated by social expectation, societal norms, gender perspectives, and everything that is expected of a woman and expected of a mother to react. Now, let's have a look at the third topic, the third concern that comes up in this particular play. The gender identity in Tara is somewhat, well, reversed. Tara and Chandan are considered to be freaks by the likes of Rupa and her cronies, not only because they are conjoined twins and now they are amputees, but because they don't conform to the ideas of gender. What a man should be like, what a woman should be like. Tara is the more aggressively dominant of the two. Patel disapproves of Chandan's preoccupation with the household chores because he kind of thinks that they are effeminate. Now, in this, we also see a parallel between Tara and Chandan, and also Rahil and Esther in Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things. Also, Tara's obvious intellectual superiority over Chandan is considered to be unnatural, because Tara, by Chandan, because when Tara wins a game of chess with Chandan, Chandan considers her to be, well, cheating and also to be a very shrewd businesswoman. This is shrewdness. This is not intellectual. This is not intelligence. In this play, we see how socially accepted or socially authorized gender roles are inculcated in our minds very deeply. We cannot expect people to be different. We cannot accept people to be different either. So in this module so far, we have seen how Mahesh Dattani makes this play as a awareness campaign towards all the societal evils that he finds needs to be addressed. He is addressing all these invisible issues which have never surfaced so far. So, looking at this module, let's summarize it in a second. We have looked into Mahesh Dattani, his life, his career, his plays, the themes that he explores majorly in his plays, Tara, the settings of Tara, the plot of Tara, the characters in Tara, and some of the questions that Tara brings up. If you are more interested to know more about this module, you can refer to the text which is available for you, and you can also look into the other references for your extra study in Learn More section, and just to test whether you have actually gauged the understanding which is there in this module, you can test yourself in the self-assessment with the multiple choice questions and some of the essay type questions. Thank you.